Oh yeah, I'm back, baby. Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be doing part K of my CD collection. Good to see everybody, hope you're doing well. Once again, apologies for the big delay of my last CD collection, or indeed my last video that I've made. Just got a lot of life events going on, as you saw in that little update. But also, I'm very sorry that I forgot to mention a few things. That was one of the main topics I was going to bring up in that update. I don't want to hog up too much of this time, obviously, because I want to go on about this collection, but I want to say thank you very much, first of all, for letting me achieve over 50 subscribers. I really appreciate that. In fact, this little message I wanted to give you guys, I recorded ages and ages and ages ago, so I may as well just let my past self do the talking. I am pretty overwhelmed with how my video, the review of Blades 333 is doing. Originally it was doing pretty moderately well. Anything that gets over 100 views to me I consider a success. Everyone will have their own interpretations of what's successful or not to them, but I always think that every like that I get or every view I get is just that one person who's taken their time to watch one of my videos that I've put effort into, and I appreciate every single one. What I will say is, when I pulled a long stint of hours in one go, seeing one of that, I will say that when pulling in a lot of hours, a big stint I done in overtime, I went on my videos when I had a bit time to myself, and seeing that video, that review blow up and nearly getting 1,000 views now is amazing to me and really made my day. And you know, like I say to some people, you know, even 1,000 views isn't a lot, but I just like to consider that 1,000 people have watched it. You know, imagining that many people is just amazing. And not only that, but the reception has been really good. I've received a lot of nice comments, so thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So that's basically all I want to say about that. So now that we've got that out the way, and I will again reiterate thank you very much, let's get on with the collection. Woohoo! Oh, come on, someone's got to give some charisma around here. I know it's a CD collection, but still. Let's have a little bit morale, everybody. Come on, here we go. I've had this pile here for nearly 2 months. It's pretty sad. So first off, Keodot. This is a band which mixes both metal and modern classical music very interestingly. And I know of these guys because they have some affiliations with John Zorn. So I heard this was a very interesting release, and it's as eclectic and as mad as you can imagine, but very, very worth listening. Some cerebral moments and some heavy moments, but if you like your metal and you like exploring all of the different sounds and such, then this is well worth a shot. Quick shout out to a local band, Kickback Generation with Rant. The reason why I've obtained this CD and the copy is because my best friend James plays the cello on one of these tracks. Now, which track is it again? In fact, he plays the cello on 2 songs, the song 79 and the title song Rant. So if you want to check out Kickback Generation and you know, hey, that guy, he's a friend of that guy that I also really like, check out these guys. They're a punk band, by the way. Kid Cudi. I've always had a very big soft spot for Kid Cudi, and it seems that more recently than usual he's getting a lot more recognition for paving the way for more ambient sound in hip-hop, especially emo rap. and you hear traces of it on his later releases, his sophomore especially, but there are traces in his debut, Man on the Moon, and has a lot of great tracks on here. A lot of you will know Day and Night, which is on here, as well as the song that you've done with MGMT, what's that? Oh yeah, Pursuit of Happiness. But there's a lot of great tracks on here, and I've always, whether or not the music is good or not, you can't say Kid Cudi never achieves in terms of having an idea and trying to reach for it. He's not boring, he's never boring. So totally recommend this. This is a modern rap classic, I'd go as far as to say. And now, what is this group that we're going to be talking about in a decent length? We'll always have a group like that in every single letter so far. In fact, we're going to have two. This is King Crimson. Now, King Crimson is a group that my dad got me into when I was pretty young. He used to have, when he was younger than me, actually, back in the day, he used to have a Canadian friend who his father was a professional ice hockey player. Couldn't remember the name of the person. And obviously he was quite well off. And so his son, my dad's childhood friend, used to buy albums just because he liked the look of the album cover. And I can't speak for that time period because obviously I wasn't around then, but you can imagine, especially for the working class, records were very expensive. So to do something like that is pretty out there. And what's also out there is the music that this friend and subsequently my father ended up getting into. People like Atomic Rooster, for example, or I'm also sure that he got into First Utterance by Commerce. So if my dad was to have kept that record with first pressing, I think I could be living in a better house actually if he'd done that, but never mind. Basically, so he got into this album and discovered this in the Court of the Crimson King, and many feel this is one of the first, at least, inklings of progressive rock, and it's a fantastic record. I've loved it ever since I've heard it on record, and I can't say enough how much the song 21st Century Schizoid blew my mind when I heard it, because I thought progressive rock, I mentioned it a few times, I'm funny with it sometimes. I feel it's just really drab and noodling for the sake of it and just one ear out the other and you're just like, come on, get on with it. But that song just grabs you by the scruff of the neck and it's really so good. And I love so many tracks on this record. There's only 5, I know, but apart from a bit boring second sections of, I think, Moonchild it's called. I mean, Talk to the Wind, I Talk to the Wind, the title track, and 21st Century Schizoid Mind, those 3 tracks are absolutely phenomenal. And this is amazing, well worth listening to. I used to also have on CD, is it called In the Wake of the Lake of Poseidon? I can't remember what it's called, but I wasn't that big on it, so I ended up selling it. So that's missing from here, just being honest there. So I've got Lizard. This is a lot better in my opinion. Has a bit more jazzier influences, still quite psychedelic in certain sections too. You obviously just got to listen to the title track, which is pretty fantastic. Really like this record. Larks, Tongues and Aspects, this is an essential record too. Title track, Exiles, Easy Money, you know, part 1 and 2 basically of the title track, just amazing stuff. I've yet to really give this one a shot, I'll be honest, and there's another one coming up that I haven't really listened to, which is Starless and Bible Black. Yeah, I've heard that this goes into free improvisation, so it'll be interesting to hear what that's like. But no, I'll be honest, I really haven't tried this too much, so can't give an honest thought of that. And Red, which is another great album too. Title track and Fallen Angel, Starless, all brilliant stuff. But we'll get on to this album, and it's a toss-up between In the Court of the Crimson King and Discipline as my favourite King Crimson record. And many days I actually prefer listening to this because I love the new wave elements on here. And I forget the name of the vocalist on this and the next few albums, but I love his, what's that new wave quirkiness which really works. Great guitarist too, of course, but I love his vocals. And Yeah, I maybe do prefer this. This might be my favourite King Crimson record. What's written in here? Sorry, Adrian Belew or Bellew. I apologise. I'm not sure. But Elephant Talk, Frame by Frame, Makota's Eye, Indiscipline. I could be saying all of them basically. Telonginji. I love that one. It kind of, in a way, is a bit like Remaining Light because it's new wave-ish and it gets progressively darker. I've noticed that too, so maybe it's because Remaining Light's my favourite album of all time, then that's why I like this a lot. But yeah, I'm not comparing this to Talking Heads by any means. This is, if you just listen to In the Court of the Crimson King, in my opinion, this is the one to go for. Just what I feel there. Beat, so again, with Beat in the next album, which is Free of a Perfect Pair, this is where they get slightly more popular. In fact, the singles, especially on Free of a Perfect Pair, like the song Sleepless, Heartless as well, Heartbeat. What else? Yes, especially them two tracks get nearly pop rock. There's just these are solid, but they don't compare to Discipline in my opinion. But there's still standout tracks on each one. Model Man, Sleepless, Free of a Perfect Pair, the track, and of course Lark's Tones and Aspect Part 3 are worth listening to on here. And on this album, I really like Heartbeat, but there's a song on here especially called Waiting Man, and that's up there with one of my favourite King Crimson tunes as well. So yeah, if you're not going to check out the full album of this, definitely listen to Waiting Man, especially if you like the new wavy stuff of Discipline and you haven't tried out the rest of the stuff. And finally, there's Thrak, which I think is from mid-90s, 95, and this is the other one that I haven't tried. So yeah, look forward to listening to that eventually. But that's King Crimson, everybody. And speaking of kings, we've got a queen, technically, Carole King. And talking about me dad with King Crimson, this is complete mammy record. My mum loves this album and I really enjoy this too. It's just stuff that I've heard throughout my life many a times, and I've just been spanned so many times too. So Tapestry, title track, It's Too Late, of course, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, You've Got a Friend, just all tracks which I've heard so many times but you never get sick of because they're just nice, warm, cozy feeling, you know. So this is really good stuff. Yeah, because this is a pile which has been like scattered around occasionally, I must have put this slightly out of order, so please forgive me. So this isn't fully in order, but they're all in keys still technically. Killing Joke. So this is a group that I've been really wanting to try more of because I've always liked my industrial music and I've had these two albums for absolutely ages, but I used to have another one by them as well ages ago. I've forgotten the name of it. But I just like the idea of a group which always changes sounds, and this group went from industrial rock to like, I don't know what you would describe it as, like nearly new romantic music, and then they went off and going into like industrial metal, so went even harder than before. So I've always had the debut, I've had this for ages and ages, and it's a classic, absolute classic. I used to enjoy it a lot more than I used to. That makes sense. I used to enjoy it a lot more back in the day, mostly because I never really tried industrial music. So now that I've listened to more and more, it's not that it's derivative, but like it doesn't blow my mind as much. Because like the vocals in War Dance, for example, I never heard anything like it. It was like a more manic Stranglers or something. But Requiem, of course, and War Dance and Bloodsport, The Weight, Primitive, of course. So they're all great tracks. And the other one I have is Nighttime, and of course the main selling track for this is Love Like Blood, which is one of my absolute favourite tracks of all time. But again, there are some really good tracks on here as well, like Nighttime and Kings and Queens. So I need to try a lot more Killing Joke. They're one of those groups where they very rarely had a flub in the discography, so I'm sure there's like 5-6 albums which are all really worth listening to. I'll get around to it eventually. I have been getting a lot into Godflesh. They're like my new favourite band at the moment, and I know they have slight affiliations with each other. So I will be getting into Killing Joke more. I think I might end up picking up more records, maybe not CDs. But we'll see, we'll see. Oh, I was about to talk about the next big group. There's a tiny wee digipack that just snuck itself in there. Another King Cruel. It's really bad that I've just totally missed out all of King Cruel's music, because Archie has made so many great tracks that I've heard throughout the years, especially on the U's, but I've just, for some reason, just never bought his albums after this one, which there's no fault of him, it's just me, for some reason, just never doing it. And I'm just doing myself a disservice there, because when it came out as well, it's not on this album, but there's a song that he done called Rock Bottom, and the fact that he wrote a song at that age and it was just so good, it just blew my mind. And there's loads of great tracks on here. I think my favourite is Borderline, love that one. This is a great album. What's it called? 6 Feet Beneath the Moon. So I really recommend this, but I can't speak for his subsequent albums just because I've never heard them. But from what I gather, I think he gets better. So yeah, man, I just need to get around to it. Anyways, the next big group I was about to talk about is the Kinks. And I absolutely love the Kinks. One of my favourite British bands ever. And I think just Ray Davies and Dave Davies, despite the feuds that I have as brothers, and that's very interesting to read about, but especially Ray Davies' writing, it's just some of my favourite sort of music, because I keep saying the word quaint and stuff like that, and that could just be really irritating. Like, I'm very funny with music like that. Like, something could be like hipsy dipsy and like off in fairyland, and sometimes it gets really just grinds my gears. But with him, it's got this, it either is satirical but it works, or it's just done with such a huge amount of sincereness that it just works a lot for me. And of course the tracks are extremely catchy and they made so many classics. So first I want to show off this little best of that I've had for over a decade now, and I think it was my sister that bought me this, and it's this little best of the Kinks. And I remember looking at this, I think it was in Christmas I got this, and I just thought, this is a crappy cover. The best of the Kinks. Who are the Kinks? And what's this weird album cover? Like, come on, man. This guy clearly doesn't look very comfortable with you putting your hand on his shoulder, so just stop doing it, man. I just thought, these guys look like a bunch of loser nerds, not like me. And then I put on You Really Got Me. And then that is in, I don't know if you guys are that familiar with Mr. Bean, but that's in the background to, I think, the New Year's Day special. Because I used to watch Mr. Bean all the time, and I was like, oh, that's that track. And so I immediately went from thinking the losers to proper winners. So You Really Got Me, and then I was just sold from then on. And then I used to be on my iPod and used to listen to these tracks, these 20 tracks, all the time. It's quite strange because the tracks go in order through the years. So it goes from You Really Got Me, and then it goes up to Ape Man, so up to 1970. And then the last two tracks, You Do Something to Me and Where Have All the Good Times Gone, it randomly goes back to the mid-60s again. Don't know why it does that. It's almost like, oh yeah, they didn't do anything good past 1970, so we need to find a few other tracks back in the discography that they've done in the early days. It's like, not true, not true. So, can't find the CD enough. This got me into the Kinks. Now, I don't have that big of a collection of the Kinks. I could ramble for ages, but if I had all the space in the world, I would love to buy all of these albums, and even if I didn't put them on all the time, I would love to just own a discography. But I really need to think, I need to think logically and think, and I'm only going to play the albums, or at least I should be buying and keeping the albums that I have a good chance in replaying a lot. So these albums are, in my opinion, from what I've heard, the more essential Kinks albums. But saying that, I've yet to listen to anything past Muswell Hillbillies. So I am aware of many albums, at least many songs that I'm missing out on. So talk to me, mate Alex. Go on Busted Speakers. Check out Alex on there. He is, I think, unless he's changed his mind, that is the best person to talk to, because I think the Kinks are his favourite group from what I remember. So talk to Alex about them, especially with recommendations of stuff post when they were more popular in the early 70s. They did get popular, I know, in like the late 70s and early 80s. They had a few hits, but finding those hidden gems, you got to talk to Alex. So yeah, anyways, but I am very familiar with the early 60s to early 70s stuff. So I got the King's Controversy. Oh, and this also reminds us of when I was going to try and get all the deluxe editions, because I used to be obsessed with getting the B-sides and the live and BBC sessions and all that palaver. And this was confusing because, yeah, this is one of those ones where the first disc is the mono and the second disc is the stereo version. I think, anyways. I think so. Yeah. Anyways, so this is 1965, I believe. And this has many, many hits by them. So this has, for example, Milk Cow Blues. It has Where Have All the Good Times Gone. It has I Am Free Till the End of the Day. Those are the main standouts. And on the second disc, it's got Dedicated Follower of Fashion, Sitting on My Sofa, Mr. Reporter, which is an outtake but a great track. Yeah. Oh, and a well-respected man's on here as well. Yeah, so this is really solid. Oh, and if you noticed, Sleater Kinney. Look at a Sleater Kinney album, then look at that. Yeah. Then we get on to the more mod and slightly psychedelic stuff of Face to Face. There's Party Line, Rosie Won't You Please Come Home, Dandy, which is a great track, Rainy Day in June, Fancy is amazing, and of course Sunny Afternoon, which is absolutely fantastic. So, and on this bonus tracks, one of them is Dead End Street and Big Black Smoke, as well as Mr. Pleasant again, and Mr. Reporter. So, yeah, great album. And then my uncle bought me this, The Kinks Are the Village Green Preservation Society. And I remember thinking, oh, I already had a best of, I don't need an album. And then I looked at the tracks and I was like, none of these tracks are on the best of. Oh, is this going to be a crappy album because I don't know any of these tracks? And no, this is absolutely fantastic album, and I've got so many good memories with this. That's why it's pretty beaten up. I used to put this on all the time, especially when I had English related food like bangers and mash and Yorkshire puddings and stuff. This would always be played on the computer, which is like a home PC that we used to have right next to the dining room. And yeah, my parents love, well, my mum loves this. I don't think my dad's too big on this, but my mum loves this album, so we play this quite a lot. And I can't recommend this enough. This is absolutely essential British psychedelic pop, psychedelic rock music. It's just absolute. It's a beautiful album, and this is what I'm on about when it came to like the serenity and the, well, obviously the sort of idyllic landscapes that you would get in the Village Green, but it's just done with such sincerity that you've got to listen to this. There's so many fantastic tracks. This is one of those albums where you literally could say any track is a favourite. So I could be listing loads here, but I'll see if I can keep it to 3. I think my 3 favourites are Johnny Thunder, Animal Farm, and Phenomenal Cat. Those are the 3 that I'd say that are my favourite. And also, just a quick bit of trivia, on that home PC, either the left or the right channel didn't work, and I didn't realise it until I used to play Johnny Thunder for ages, and because of the panning, if you get rid of, I can't remember if it's the left or right channel, if you get rid of one of them, it just sounds like a instrumental. So I used to think that, and then I got a massive shock when I actually got it on my iPod. I was like, what the hell, where these vocals came from? Yes. Right. But so this is a free disc, and again, there's a lot of great tracks on the bonus material as well. There'll have been loads of reissues and remasters of this. This is probably an inferior version now. This is from 2004. But yeah, this has like Lavender Hill and Rosemary Rose, Wonder Boy, which is a great track. But I love the stuff like Spotty Grottiana and Oh, where's the track that I always found was funny? It's the Mick Avery, yeah, the drummer. Mick Avery's Underpants. Why wouldn't you want to listen to a track called that? Yeah. Rambling on. Oh, silly me. And prior to that, there was something else by the Kinks, which is a great album as well. David Watts, famously covered eventually by The Jam. There's loads of fantastic tracks on here, and again, the bonus tracks, if you're going to buy the CD, are amazing because they've got Act Nice and Gentle, Autonomaniac, which is one of my favourite Kinks songs ever, Wonder Boy again, Polly, and on the main album, Afternoon Tea, Lazy Old Sun, not big on Love Me Till the Sun Shines, I think that's my least favourite on here, Tin Soldier Man, No Return, Death of a Clown, and I think my favourite, even though it's quite a little short ditty, is Two Sisters. That's probably my favourite on this album. Now, I nearly equally love this next album as much as Village Green, and I was so excited to try this out. And I reviewed this album years ago on my old Fleagle Floggle channel, so if you ever want to watch that, type in Arthur and the Decline and Fall of the British Empire album review, if you can be asked to type all that in, and you'll probably find this weird ginger looking dweeb with massive mop hair.
Hello, Fleagle Floggle here. In the laundry room, there's a nice holiday I'm having up in Scotland.
In some holiday, I can't remember where I was. I was on holiday in Scotland, I remember, and I reviewed it. And I was just raving and ranting about it, and I still love it to this day, this album. I just love Yes Sir, No Sir. It's one of my favourite songs ever. Brainwashed still. Mr. Churchill Says. Man, I could say loads of things like that. I think I still stand by what I said years ago, where I thought Driving was a bit mundane because it sounds like one of the tracks of Village Green. Australia as well, that's a fantastic track. Just nothing that you would really expect from the Kinks, a song like Australia, like. Yeah, so I love this album. This is absolutely essential. And then, of course, we've got Lola versus Power Man and the Money Go Around Part 1. Yep, Part 1. We're still waiting for Part 2, lads. And this has loads of great tracks on here as well. Rats, Ape Man, which is one of my favourites by them, of course. Top of the Pops is a great track, but Lola is absolutely an essential listen. I'm saying that, but you've probably heard it before, but it's like I guess it is like a pro-LGBT song from 1970. So very ahead of the time. Very, very ahead of the time. This is a great, great album. And finally, Most Well Hillbillies. And this kind of goes into more of a country direction. And many consider this as like their most like underrated, but like not underrated, but maybe like an album which is often forgotten, but like is also excellent too. And I don't listen to it as much as the rest, but there are a lot of great tracks on here, like Alcohol, 20th Century Man, Skin and Bone, and my favourite is Have a Cup of Tea, which isn't really like the rest of the album really, but it's one of those songs that just shows how excellent of a songwriters these guys was, because it has this, like I say, great old classic British sort of jovial tone to it, but a good sense of humour too. So that's the standout track for me on this, but yeah, really worth listening to. Next we're going to talk about a 70s group which is definitely a lot more forgotten in the present day than it was back then. This group is called Klaatu, and the reason why they're especially a lot less known now than they were back then, not so much because they were obviously popular, or at least more popular in the 70s when they were going, but there was a huge rumour that the Beatles didn't disband and actually went into make Klaatu, and that's because the vocalist on here sounds a hell of a lot like Paul McCartney. And it's a shame because despite them having resemblances, I suppose, when the news was out that it wasn't them, it kind of just fell to bits, and it's a shame because their popularity shouldn't just be stemmed from the rumours, because this is still a very solid album. For 76, it's weird because it's more psychedelic focused, so definitely not what you'd be expecting around 76. But there's a track on here called Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft, and I believe the Carpenters covered that song. California Jam is an amazing song as well, and I think this is really solid. It's not amazing, but I still think this is still worth a listen, if not to see what the rumours were like about this group. And yeah, it's worth a read about this group. I think the second album, which I can't remember what it's called, is supposed to be even better than this, but I just found this quite cheap, so I thought I'd pick it up. So yeah, that's Klaatu. Next we've got KLF, This is another group that you've got to read up upon. They're very, very interesting. More of an art project really than a group, because despite them making some absolutely banging music, they had some very interesting stories about what they thought about the music industry and how they treat it, how they treat about, I don't know, record companies and sales. And yeah, they even wrote a book about how to make a #1 single when they went under the pseudonym The Time Lords. You might know that song that they made, which is sort of like a novelty Doctor Who song. But forget about that, I'm talking about KLF here. So the two albums that I own here. First one, Chill Out. And I couldn't really chill out when I spent that much on a CD, but couldn't help it. It's a rare album, and this is a beautiful listen. It's like one massive song, and it's definitely one of those albums that you just got to go to a good pair of headphones and just, well, chill out. Because it's a journey. It's a very nice, serene and meditative journey. It's not ambient really, not at least fully ambient. It's supposed ambient techno, you would call it. It's got like plunderphonic elements and like all of these sound effects which sort of resemble that you're just going on a journey. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but yeah, I really, really recommend getting this. I don't know if it's on streaming services, but you should be able to find it on YouTube at the least. Don't know if it's still hard to get on CD, but maybe you might be able to pick it up for less than I did, price-wise. Yeah, and then this is a lot easier to get, The White Room. And this is another album which is definitely worth your time, especially if you like your early 90s house sort of music, because this, I mean, it doesn't have everything they've done, which is like absolutely amazing. Like there's still a few non-album singles that they released, but this has What Time Is Love and 3 AM Eternal, Last Train to Trans Central as well. They're a bit different to the single edits, but still they're technically on here. So this is still worth a pick up as well. But just check out KLF. You don't hear them that much talked about. You will hear them on like 90s themed radio stations maybe. But again, you've just got to read up about them guys because they are bonkers. Then we've got the Koopster, with one of my favourite hip-hop records absolutely of all time, The Devil's Playground. And on an old video I made, I suppose it's not that old in fact, it's not even a year old, that video. I made a video about top 10 albums you've got to listen to on Halloween, and this is one of the choices. Because this album, despite it being a hip-hop record, and you'd think, can that be scary? I would say this is quite scary. The whole sound effects and the atmosphere is fantastic, and I absolutely just love the whole thing. And this has Torture Chamber, Crucifix, Ready to Ride is absolutely amazing. Listen to Robbers, listen to that instrumental. There's just something about it which is just so warped and creepy. Judgment Night is fantastic. Purple Thang, Now I'm High, Stash Pot. The whole thing's amazing. He's affiliated in one of the members of the 666 Mafia, Memphis group. Absolutely classic in the underground scene, and they're not really underground anymore because you hear a lot of music nowadays, especially in the hip-hop and R&B scene, trap in general, which sounds are taking a lot of sounds that are incorporated on this, especially the sounds of the beats. Trap rap has definitely been influenced a lot by music like this, so I can't sell this album to you enough if you like your hip-hop music, especially if you like something with a sort of darker, twisted edge to it. It's not like it's trap metal or anything like that, but it's a lot more creepy, so definitely recommend that. Got a couple albums by The Knife, speaking of being quite warped and such, but this is more electronic music. So I bought this a while ago, Silent Shout. Very, very solid music, like I say, quite dark. but has a lot of quite banging tunes, I suppose you would call them. But this is really, really good. And this was one of the first albums that I bought when that was like brand new, and I thought, oh, I'm really cool buying this because these are quite an unknown band. So I bought this 2 CD version of Shaking the Habitual, and this has a song on here called, where is it? Is it no? Yeah, A Cherry on Top. Yeah, and A Two for an Eye. And Wrap Your Arms Around Me. Those are 3 really good tracks. Yeah, there's a track on here. I believe it's the first track of Two for an Eye, which I was obsessed with that song. I thought it was great. The music video to that's really good as well. And the whole album's really good too. But there are some very strange songs on here, like that go into like dark ambient territories. Where's the song? Yeah, Old Dreams Waiting to Be Realised. Like, you might find that as a skip, but it just depends on how much you want to sink your teeth into this, because this is like a big listen. This is like about an hour and a half, I think. But yeah, that's a really good album as well. Last couple here. Okay, so Kraftwerk. I'm probably going to either buy all of the remastered Kraftwerk that have came out, or I might end up just getting them all on CD, because I've owned old copies of Autobahn, and I think, what else did I own as well? Just a few here and there that I've owned and I've ended up chucking out because I thought, oh, I'll get the remastered version. I'll probably just pick them up on vinyl, like I say. So, I do still have a CD here. Guess it's technically a bootleg. This is a compilation of Kraftwerk 2 and Ralph and Florin. So this is predating the stuff that they've done with Autobahn, and although it's still electronic music, it's definitely a lot more experimental. So a bit of music concrete, I suppose you would call some of it as well. Some of it definitely because of them being a German group as well, and then being in their early stages before they went fully electronic. They have a lot of krautrock sounds to them as well on here. So yeah, very interesting. Still quite good music. Don't go into it expecting any like electro pop bangers or anything like that you get in the 80s with Kraftwerk, but this is still worth a listen. Again, whether or not it's on streaming services, or you should be able to get this on YouTube, or be able to find something like this sort of CD. I don't know, but it's worth checking out. And finally, last album we'll be talking about here is Talib Kweli. I believe this is his debut. And a bit like I get feelings with people like Common or Black Thought, always an excellent lyricist, and it really is something that you've got to consider worth trying out as well, with his lyrics and so on and so forth, with Train of Thought. Thoroughly very solid album. And that's it, everybody. So I appreciate you guys for watching, and I appreciate all of your patience, for you guys have been eagerly anticipating a new video by me. Hopefully it won't be too long when I come back with another video, either part L or maybe another sort of video I'll be coming out. Who knows? But that's the beauty and excitement of the free world. I can do anything. I can do anything. Maybe not everything, yeah, but I can do a lot of things. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Hope you take care of yourselves, and bye for now.
Thanks for listening.